Hi, this is Chad Miller at Wildcat Creek Outfitters. Today we're going to be tying Chad's mud bug. You can see here I use a rather large hook for this pattern. It is sort of a jigging fly, so I'm going to use a larger gap hook on this. I'm using the 8089 size 6. While it is a long, or while it is not a long hook, it has got a sizable gap. I'm using woolly bugger marabou here to create a head or thorax part of the body. I like to do that on a couple of my crawdad patterns because I want movement without having to create something realistic. I also tie this into the body to give myself a little bit of bulk, so when I come in with my body material, it won't look so thin. A lot of crawdad patterns look very long and way too thin. They have sort of an elongated body that doesn't really fit the body of the fly, and not to mention the fact that they don't have a lot of movement. So most of my crawdad patterns, and I've got several, I use materials that allow movement even when the fly isn't moving. Even though a crawdad has an exoskeleton, they still move pretty gracefully in that exoskeleton. They're not stiff, lifeless bodies. They turn and move and tuck their tail and swim. I'm going to use some rubber legs here for the claws. These are a pumpkin seed or tan type color with orange tips. I don't want to use too many here because that will cause tangling, and these will even tangle a little bit as well. But I'm only going to put about 3 to 5 strips, 4 or 5 strips on either side. A little goes a long way again, so we don't want to put too many on there to cause tangling and all that. This fly will have a lot of movement because we are jigging it up and down. I'm going to tie these two saddle hackles in, and I'm using 2 to give myself lots of leggy sort of shape to the body. We're going to tie these in butt first, and we're going to taper the body sort of more in a classic style to give the body a sort of segmented, almost segmented sort of look from the head to the body, or I should say a tapered look. We're going to come in with S-Taz, and that's going to be our body. I typically don't use braided, or not braided, but carded material for these types of patterns, but I really like this opal root beer S-Taz. It gives my crawdad the sort of the right base. It's flashy enough, but this color tends to work well in a lot of different water types. This one I'm tying in a brown. I also tie this one in a tan, and I have been playing around with an olive one, but the tan and this brown kind of cover things pretty well. I'm going to come in with these 2 hackles and palmer these, and I'm going to palmer them together to give myself, lots of leggy shape to the body. Now, the reason I'm using 2 is that here in a little bit we'll have another step that will reduce the amount of material that's hackle that's on the hook. What will happen is regularly people will come in with a shell or something they pull down, a thin material that either some kind of foam or a thin material like bugskin or something to create the back of this. The problem is that stuff is very lifeless and doesn't move. So what I'm going to do is come in here with a little different material to give myself a little different look from the top. Typically, because we're bouncing this, the fish are going to look down at the fly, so the back of the bug, so to speak, is going to be important. So I'm going to clip all those off, and you can see now I don't have near as much hackle to deal with, but I still have some on the bottom. I'm going to come in with Australian possum, and they now have these in several different colors, but this is in orange. It gives me a really nice sort of crawdad orange look. And you can see that I've cut the hackle off, and it allows this to sort of lay down and almost create a back. But what's nice about this is that when I strip it, the back looks like it moves. So it has movement in and of itself. So we'll finish that fly off, and that is that's the mud bug.